What up, what up, what up, what up? Real quickly, real briefly, I want to come through real quick and I just want to talk about how the afterlife concept was taken out of ancient Kemet for what is better known as the Book of the Dead, the Per Em Heru, the Book of Coming Forth to Light, or by day. And I'm going to briefly just touch on some other things that was taken out of ancient Kemet that you will find very familiar. And I'm also going to talk about where I'm going into right now is the 7 different aspects of the soul, because the 7 different aspects of the soul is very important as it pertains to a person reaching the afterlife. So when we're talking about the 7 different aspects of the soul, go to my notes real quick, right? Get myself ready. Okay. You have the Khat, which is the physical body. Then you have the Kabit, which is the shadow. Then you have the Ba, which is the astral soul body. You have the Ab, which is the heart. And you have the Sekhem, which is emanating power of the Ak or Aku, and it's also a creative energy and a resurrecting energy to be able to resurrect oneself. And you have the Sa, which is the spiritual soul body, and you have the Ak or Aku, and you also have the Ka. So I might have described 8. And you also have the Ka, which is the etheric double, the ghostly figure, the spiritual body. Okay, and it's also closely associated to the chakra system. So, as it pertains to the afterlife in ancient Kemet, if a initiate or individual didn't reach status above the shadow, okay, you have the Khat, the physical body, then you have the Kabit, which is the shadow. If they didn't reach status above the shadow, they wasn't able to attain the afterlife. And once you reach status above the shadow, you have your Ba, and the Ba was a hawk image with a human head, to show that its nature is human. Okay, and the Ba is able to resist the hell fire, okay, by attaining the higher powers. Okay, so the Ba is able to navigate through the underworld. Okay, the Ba is able to navigate through the underworld. And if a person don't reach the status high as the Ba, then the person will, not be able to attain. The person will not be able to obtain the second life, the afterlife. Okay, so once this person obtains the Ba and he's able to be in the heavenly realm, he will get his heart, which is Ab, and that denotes the second heart, the second life. Okay, and then you have the Sekhem, which is the potency of force or spirit of for the realization of the resurrection. Okay, for the new glorious status, okay, of the Ka. And then you have the Ku, which is the status of the pure spirit, the glorified body. Okay, and it could also be shown associated with the white bird. Okay, and your Ka, this is the all 7 different aspects combined into one, which is associated with Heru. Okay, so what I find very interesting is that in ancient Kemet times, what a person does on a planet, on Earth during a lifetime is going to determine whether they make it to the afterlife or not. Okay, so you can see this being taken out of Kemet and being placed in other religions. You understand what I'm saying? And they had a judgment hall, which is in the underworld of the Duat. Because once you passed away, you go to the underworld or to the Duat, and you go to the judgment hall, and there's 42 masters of truth, and they judge the person. They was searching to see if they found evil or anything like that inside of the individual, so they couldn't pass, so they couldn't pass the judgment hall to make it to the afterlife. And each of these 42 judges, each of them judged a sin. So it was 42 different sins, and each of them judged a certain sin and whatnot. And if you ever seen the images of this judgment, they will be seated. They will be sitting down. Sometimes it's all 42. Sometimes it's only 7 or 13. But in most cases it's it's the 42 judges. And so basically, if the person was righteous, they would pass, and if the person was not righteous, they will be sent back. Okay, and they will be sent back, and they will get devoured by the animals of darkness, because that's what happened to the individuals. That's what happened to the individuals that didn't pass. They will get devoured by this type of deity. That was the devourer of hearts waiting for them at the judgment hall. Okay, so they was looking for purity of character, evidence unimpeachable, and the sin is done in the body through violating the laws of nature. This is just some notes that I jotted down that I'm speaking about. So another thing that I found interesting is the book of the body, which was open and the records read of the vital organs. So basically, they would take the heart, the liver, the lungs, and brought them into judgment to witness the life lived on earth. So they would actually check these organs to see what type of life you lived. And if the organs was like rotted or they was no good, then they was scraped or cut out and condemned and flung into the powers of the eaters of filth and the devourers of darkness and the devourers of wickedness. So, so if your heart wasn't pure, of course, then you wasn't able to obtain the afterlife, the second life. Okay, so you can see again where Christianity gets the whole concept of being born again. To be born again is to make it to the afterlife. That's the second life. That's to be born again. Okay, so just going through my notes here, and y'all probably can hear my kids because they loud as ever. So if you hear that, I got kids, and they do what they do. And they also talk about 2 ladders. The first ladder is to ascend from the land of darkness, and the second ladder is to reach the land of light. And it was a part where the initiate stated, "I'll raise my ladder up to the sky so that I may behold the netchers." Okay, so they're speaking about ascending the ladder to the sky, okay, to reach the heavenly realm. And they also talked about the opening of the mouth ceremony. And this ceremony was so that the memory that was lost will come back into utter words of power, so that the initiate may be equipped. Opening of the mouth after silence of death was the great secret. So now we're going into the whole aspect of speaking words of power. So this whole aspect of speaking words of power comes out of ancient Kemet, because you can see that in religion doctrines too, how the reverends and the preachers, they would speak the word of God and denounce demons and do things like that. See, that comes out of ancient Kemet. All right. And so in the underworld, initially it was talking about how where it would say, come not against me who live by words of power, back and retreat, crocodile or set or whatever type of monster or evil deity that was there trying to devour the unrighteous. So you can see the initiate speaking this word of power, okay? And I also got some notes speaking about how Asar says in the opening of the mouth ritual that he's free from the dumbness and darkness or muzzles of Set and restore to him words of power. Okay? So that's just going back into the opening of the mouth ceremony. And just going through my notes real quick. Bear with me. Bear with me, y'all. So the initiate goes through the underworld, through the Mount of Rebirth in heaven, okay, to the stellar paradise. And the earthly personality was merged in the divine image of the Ka. And the mortal puts on the immortality in the likeness of the humanity. So this is what happens to the deceased. This is what they believed. You know, they believed they went to the Duat and they had to be a righteous person. If they wasn't righteous, they wasn't going to make it, okay, to the afterlife, and they was being judged. And it was according to the life that you lived here on the planet. And also, I almost left out was the whole aspect of the gatekeepers. Okay, they got a aspect of this called the gatekeepers, and it was certain monsters or deities that was guarding certain gates, and the unrighteous wouldn't make it through these gates. And these deities, they would have like knives or something like that, and they would prevent the unrighteous from passing through these gates, and they would actually protect the righteous. They would actually protect the righteous who was traveling through the underworld. All right, so that's what I just wanted to touch on. I wanted to touch on this afterlife thing because, I see the origin of it and the whole concept and where the whole born again things comes from. So I'm just going to touch on a few other things, and, we can get on up out of here today. I appreciate you supporting, watching, checking me out. Keep checking me out. The videos is going to get better. The knowledge is going to get sharper. The videos is going to get more thorough. So, be patient with me. I really love to study. And, so it's going to be some good information coming through. Another thing that I found interesting was that the word in ancient Kemet, stated by Gerald Massey, the word mess or mass is to anoint or to make the mummy or to steep. And it was also called mesu. And this is where you get the Hebrew word Messiah, because it comes from the ancient Kemet word out of the Middle Nature, mesu. Okay, and it's a composite of two different words, mesu and aha. Okay, and that's where you get the word Messiah from. It comes from mesu and aha. And another thing that I found interesting was the word Christ comes from the ancient Kemet word out of the Middle Nature, karast. And karas or kares was to embalm, to anoint, to make a mummy. Okay, because the ancient Egyptians believed that you know, the mummy, the whole mummy ceremony was the whole aspect of to be born again. That was the resurrection. That was the afterlife. That was the whole thing that the mummy, what you call a mummy. Of course, ancient Kemet didn't call it a mummy. So what they call a mummy now, you know, that's the karas or the karas. And that's where you get the Greek word Christos. And that's where you get the Latin word corpus. Okay? Okay, so so you can see where you get the word Christ, who was resurrected. It's rooted in ancient Kemet from the mummy to rise again, to resurrect. It's the resurrected mummy. Okay? So so I believe, you know, that's why they talk about Christ being a student of ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt, because you can see where these practices take place, and he performed these ancient practices. He performed them in the time in the Roman period. He performed that. So he was so, you know, he was initiated into that knowledge. Okay? And in the baptism, okay, and being anointed, okay, that comes out of ancient Kemet also. And the baptismal was the regeneration, okay, that was to make new again. And it was done with water or with tree oil or some type of animal fat from a bull. Okay? So I pretty much think that's it. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover, actually. So thank you for watching. Thank you for checking me out. Like I said, the videos is going to get better. The knowledge is going to get more sharper. Things is going to be more precise. So, you know, stick with me. Check me out. I'll be back with some more. You know, peace. Hotep. And till we meet again, my friend, keep it 100.